point fight him, but point fight him with danger. Kind of play the game, point fight, but do it with the intention of break him down. You can actually break him down and beat him that way. You get what I'm saying?
Jamahal! Sweet Dreams Hill!
What's going on, Sweet Dreams Nation? It's your boy, and I'm back again, Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill. It's been a while since I've seen y'all. Been having some time off, you know, enjoying life, hanging out with the family, hanging out with the kids. I'm back in Michigan right now. That's why you see a different setup behind me. We have some great action on tap for this weekend. UFC 305, Israel Adesanya trying to get his belt back from the now champion Dricus. Duplessis, a lot of bad blood in this matchup. Pretty heated rivalry. A lot of motion at the top of the middleweight division since recent of late with after the long run that Izzy had at dominate the middleweight division. So we're gonna tap into this. I'm not really familiar a whole lot with everything on this card, so I'm kind of gonna stick more so to the main event in my breakdown. I do have some thoughts along down the card, and I will share those, but for the most part we're gonna stick to the main event. Israel Adesanya, Dricus Duplessis. It's actually an alright card. I think it'll actually deliver a little bit more so than what the hype of some of the names on the thing have. Got some new guys coming in. Got Johnny Walker's brother. That should be a good fight. Luna Santos and Kim O'Neal. That should be a good fight. Rosenstruck, Tai Tuivasa. That should be a good fight. Fireworks, big, strong, powerful guys. I see Rosenstruck more as the better technical fighter, having more options to win in this fight. Better footwork, better things like that. Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. Another meaningful fight at the top of the division. Dan wins. He's right back up there at the top in the title conversation, and Gamrot wants to keep marching his way towards the title. But however, I see this fight kind of more so playing towards Gamrot. Gamrot's a cardio machine. He's a monster. Once he steps on the gas pedal, there's very few people that'll be able to keep up with that pace. I don't know. I've seen Dan get tired before, but Dan is also a monster. He's a sniper. He's a very, very good striker. He can find his shot a lot of different ways in the kickboxing range like that. So we'll see what that happens. But I think Gamrot puts a pretty good pace on him. Steve Arce, Kai Kara-France. Another good fight. Haven't seen Kai Kara-France in a while. Steve Arce, we seen him just fight Pantoja for the title. I believe it was on short notice. He looked really good in that. He almost did enough to become the champion. I don't know. I think he's a little bit more sharp and a little bit more technical. Kai is technical. He's sharp. He hits hard. He hits really, really hard. I believe Steve might be taller, might have a little bit more range as far as full body length. I believe Kai probably has the reach advantage in this one, but that height plays a difference in that range. Length of body plays a difference. We're gonna see how that one turns out. It's gonna be a good striking fight, I think. The main event, Dricus Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya. This is where I wanted to spend most of my time, talking and breaking down this fight. For the most part, the physical attributes as far as reach and range, they play over in the Izzy side. Dricus is more of a short, compacted guy, a strong powerhouse and a bully. Izzy is strong as well, but I think I'd probably give more of the power, like the raw physical strength. I'd probably give that edge to Dricus. Just the kind of the way he fights, kind of more so plays into that. How do I see this fight? So for the most part, we know the type of fighter. We know the type of fighter that both of these guys are. Now, after watching a little bit more of Dricus and breaking him down, I understand a little bit more why he's actually had the success that he has. He's actually a pretty smart fighter, and he makes pretty good adjustments and sticking to the game plan. He's very, very good at game plan. They both come in with good teams, and they both come in very game plan oriented. So it's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be technical. It's gonna be high level. Both of them gonna have to go into their bag. They're gonna have to go into their bag of what they do very well, plus what new tricks have been added. More so, I'm interested in seeing what's been added on Adesanya's. Last time we saw Adesanya was the Sean Strickland fight in which he lost the title. Now in that fight, Sean was able to get Izzy uncomfortable, get in the face, kind of force him more so in the pocket and fight in the pocket and fight in that range where we haven't really seen him be forced to fight at with somebody of the boxing of Sean Strickland. He was able to catch him with that right hand early on in the fight and just keep that range, and he was able to stifle his kicks essentially with with that front kick, with that teep kick. We saw him use the teep kick and a quick jab to lunge in whenever he might try to lean back to kick. We've seen the range of that. Dricus' last fight also was against the same opponent, which was Sean Strickland, and Dricus won that. Well, Dricus was able to come out with I believe it was a split decision, maybe. I believe it was a split decision, which I think if it's a split decision, it usually should go to the champion. However, I did watch the fight back, and as I've said, I've been on record saying that Sean won that fight. After watching the fight back and actually looking into account, Dricus did win that fight. I believe Sean didn't step on the gas enough and do enough. Dricus was more so on go and trying to throw things out there and try to take control of the fight. And for the most part, he did kind of control the range and things of that fight, more so. Sean kind of turned it up in smaller moments. That's ultimately what got him the title. Another thing that I noticed, right? I'm gonna go back into Dricus' last two fights. His last two fights was against Rob Whittaker and against Sean Strickland. All right, Sean Strickland and Rob Whittaker are two very different fighters in the way that they fight and their abilities as fighters and as athletes. Rob Whittaker is more of like a springy, hopping on your feet type of fighter. He likes to stay loose, flow. He likes to flow, right? He's springy. He has the ability to fight springing, to come backwards and spring forward and counter, as well as move laterally. Sean Strickland is more of a forward pressure bully fighter. He uses that jab to get in your face, get you uncomfortable, get you out your square, and kind of get you on the run, and he kind of walks you down and starts to find his shots on you as you start to get tired and as you start to wither. Dricus fought both of these guys very differently. Essentially, they were striking fights, but within those fights, he fought them. He approached it. He had two different approaches to them, and that's kind of more so that I wanted to point out before I get to the breakdown of how I think is best for both fighters to do. When Dricus's plan, the way Dricus counteracted the movement of a Robert Whittaker. Now, a lot of people, and myself included, whenever I watch, I'm not gonna speak for people, I'm gonna speak for myself. So whenever I watch Dricus, I see him as like, he's kind of wild. His footwork isn't the best. He kind of closes range by lunging in, right? And as a fighter, you really don't want to lunge, because lunging can get you in all sorts of trouble. Once you're in and you're committed, if they make the right move, you're kind of stuck there for whatever they have to come back at you. So that's why lunging isn't typically recommended. Dricus against a Rob Whittaker, and a fighter that can fight off the back foot and spring forward and can fight going backwards and can counter, he didn't take that approach. But what Dricus did against Rob, because Rob likes to hop, he'll switch stances and things like that. Dricus just switched stances. So he was switching stances, going from orthodox to southpaw. And in doing that is essentially trying to draw Rob into a counter. It's a way of him like backing up, and like, it's like, think of like a counter striker, right? He like kind of sits back and he kind of waits to counter. We've seen that enough now in this day and age to where Rob's not going to just walk behind him and then just be countered, right? And Dricus understands this. So what he did was he just switched stances here, switched stances there. Actually, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I just thought about it. He actually said, I don't know, people are saying I fight, I just fight. Well, I'm telling you from this is why it worked. Even if he doesn't knowingly do it, this is why it worked. When he starts switching stances back and forth like that can keep you in position to counter and give the illusion of, okay, somebody counter. But he's also throwing things and popping things out there. Some of those punches aren't really in range to that, but they are in range to land to the head, but they're hitting to the hands, and they can actually cause enough of a set off an alarm and set off a panic to where he will essentially go and try to counter and just set off that alarm. They just fire off and counter, or they'll kind of just get caught in a daze of kind of watching. So he was kind of lulling him with that stand switch, and whenever he switched to the southpaw, he would lunge and hit him with that left hook. I mean, not the left hook, the left jab. Dricus is the guy that once he gets you going backwards, that's when he uses the spring. So he understands. So understanding that he don't have the footwork to actually move, to cut and get in and work his way in that way, and his way to get in is by lunging. He makes you retreat first, and then that's when he lunges and he gets on you after that. So that's what he used for Rob. He uses a stand switch. Also, what that does, you can teeter your way stand switching like that. You can walk your way into range with those stand switches, because while you're switching stances and going back, you still have the ability to retreat if needed. Essentially, that's what happened to Rob. He ended up getting caught kind of lulled, and he was getting hit with the jab. He was getting lulled there, and then he was getting hit. Dricus also has a longer reach than Rob does, and he uses his reach. That's one thing about the way he lunges and the way he leans in. He's able to use his reach. Now against Sean Strickland, Sean's a forward fighter. Sean doesn't fight well off of his back foot. He's not a drawback, hop back, athletic footwork, hop back and counter you. That's not Sean's thing. Sean's counters more so come from him slipping or him making you miss and him reaching and ducking and coming back in that way. Dricus sold out to make him go backwards. He would throw the kicks. He used his kicks very, very well to stop Sean's forward movement. So what was happening was he was lunging at Sean. The thing about stopping a guy, one thing about a guy that's coming forward and forward pressuring and things like that, if you lunge at him with good range, if you can lunge at him, he's going to shell up. That's Sean's defense. Sean's defense is to shell up and cover up. Problem with that is he's lunging at you, so he's also going back. So whenever he's shelling up like this, Dricus is throwing. He's throwing wild and looping shots. He's throwing shots that are coming at weird and awkward angles, and they're actually catching him and hitting him. Now that like off of a shell, if you get hit off of a shell, unless you have the ability to slip, roll, and things like that, like very, very high level boxers, which there aren't many that can do that in MMA, you have to retreat. So you have to go back. And then you either have to be very fast getting away, or you have to have weapons or springs to be able to lunge back off the back foot and counter. And Sean doesn't have those. Sean's jab is a forward strike. Sean's teep kick is a forward strike. Sean's punches are forward strikes. How he gets even overhands, they're forward strikes. Dricus essentially figured, make him go backwards, make him fight off the back foot. As long as he's on his back foot, that minimizes the danger to me. And that's what he did. He just sold out on making him go backwards. And the times that Sean wasn't biting, or he might have had a good defense and could have countered him charging forward, Dricus started to blend in that kick. Because if you look at how he was throwing the kick, he was dipping and throwing the kick. What does that look like? That almost looks like he's about to blitz and about to rush at him. So what does he do? He shells up, and when he shells up and he throws a kick, if you're shelled up and you block a kick, bang, a kick is heavy. It's going to block you and it's going to move you. You get what I mean? And even still, some of those times it was tricking him and they were landing. He was slapping him in the face a little bit with the kick. So he has the ability to realize and fight people accordingly in different ways. Now, against Izzy, things are it's a little different. Israel is athletic. He can fight backwards counter. He can do the backwards counter as well as come forward. Now, this is where we're going to have to see evolution from Izzy. Sean Strickland made him get in that pocket, in that uncomfortable range, essentially, that was right there in his face, which is how Dricus kind of likes to fight, so we're going to have to see an evolution in essentially in his boxing. So you would have to win that inside that range on the inside would be with sharp boxing. Dricus, his path to victory is being able to stay in Izzy's face, get in Izzy's face, make him uncomfortable, make it a dog fight. Now, another thing I'm gonna have to notice about Dricus, this dude has to hit hard as shit. The one thing that I'm seeing in the difference in all these slugfests that he's getting in is the effect of when he hits people versus when people hit him. So he's durable and he hits hard. I think the best game plan for him would be to get in Izzy's face, try not to overextend with punches, right? So in this fight for him, he would have to short up those punches. How he likes to swing, you can't do that. You can't do that in this fight. Israel is able to lean, bend, and counter and hit and throw shots that are able to knock you out, as well as evade with footwork and come back in that way. So for him to reach like that against a fighter that has the athleticism and the movement and the link paws of Izzy, you can end up in a bad spot and potentially eat a nasty shot. So I would say shorten up the strikes, close in the range, stay in his face, and mix in the grappling. Shout out to Bilal Muhammad, because I was away for a while. I wasn't able to do a breakdown, and Bilal needed to get in his face, make that uncomfortable range, punch, and stay on him. He's a cardio machine. He's never smoked or drank in his life, and he has that cardio to kind of wear up. I don't think the cardio differential is as great as it was in that fight as opposed to this fight, but yeah, I believe it was last year when I accepted the fight in 300 in Anaheim. I was sparring with Bilal in that we were moving around. Obviously, I had just taken the fight, so we were moving around. I was just trying to get a sweat going and stuff like that, but I realized what a pest he could be in your face with deflecting your shots and actually touching you and getting shots on you, and you can do that to somebody my size, you know, I figured it would translate very, very well to that. When I seen the shape he was in, I knew it was gonna be a tough night. So yeah, shout out to you, champ. You know I love you, brother, always, and I always appreciate you. Yeah, so Dricus should probably follow along that same line, right? Stay in his face, keep him on his back leg, grab him, dump him on the ground if you can, and try to land your shots on him. You know what I mean? But they need to be good, precise shots to where he can still defend himself. Another thing I noticed with the Robert Whitaker fight, he kept his hands. He was able to keep his hands up. He utilized a kind of a very high guard while entering and things like that, and has his hands up like this. With Izzy, that's a problem. For Izzy, I believe that in order to counteract that, he teep kicks. His leg kicks and his teep kicks will be money in this fight because of how Dricus stands and how he holds his hands, how he charges to enter, because he has to have his hands up because he charges to enter. And when you're charging to enter, you have to protect your head. So if Israel can maybe get a frame out, knees to the body, teep kicks to the body, and leg kicks, I believe that would be a good way for him to start to break down Dricus and kind of wear on him. It's gonna have to be money. He's gonna have to have a money jab that's on point, that has him in good position and good range, that he doesn't have to overextend to find. Any overextensions by Izzy as well can be catastrophic in this fight, for the simple fact of Dricus that's what he's looking for. He's a small, he's gonna be in there, I believe he's gonna come at him a little bit more on the front leg, a little bit more of a harder spring, trying to sit down and land big shots on him. Izzy's going to have to utilize the footwork. He can't be forced to just be hopping and bouncing around without purpose. He has to move with purpose and use faster feet and lateral movement for precise strikes for his strikes and his attacks. It's gonna come down heavy to who can get who on the back foot. I think it's more important for Izzy to get Dricus on his back foot more so, but I think Izzy is more capable of fighting off of his back foot and still winning the fight than Dricus is, because we've seen him do it before. All in all, I put my money on Israel to have made the adjustments and things like that. Plus the physical difference in the two of these with the reach and the height, I think is going to be something that should not be overlooked. All the physical attributes for me lean towards Izzy. The athleticism, the range, you know, and the height and the movement. I believe his movement is better. But I believe that Dricus is more physically strong. So I believe if Dricus gets a hold of him, he has the ability to out-grapple Izzy, you know, and make it a hard night for him off of his back or with him on his back. But I believe that's his path to victory. I believe Israel's path to victory is controlling the range, point fight him, but point fight him with danger. You get what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Kind of play the game, point fight, keep that range, but do it with the intention of break him down. Don't just do it just to point him, just to land the strike. You can actually break him down and beat him that way. You get what I'm saying? Throw your leg kicks with the ability, okay, I'm gonna chop his leg down because I want to start to kind of break it down. I mean, all right, now I'm gonna work his body. Soften him up and work your way to the damage. And I believe that's Israel's path to victory. Hell of a fight, hell of a show. UFC 305. I'm gonna be tapped in. Probably do a live. Yeah, I'll probably go live. I'm gonna let y'all know which platform I'm gonna do it in. I just wanted to get this in real quick and get it out to you guys. Happy fight week. Can't wait for the action and update as far as everything goes. I'm rehabbing, still working hard, working to get back to a place where I'm at 100% where I can come back and make another one of those runs. You already know what it is whenever I come back. Whenever I'm in there, I'm coming straight for action, straight for heads. We've already done our thing. We're established. I just need to make sure my body's good so I can come in and, do what I need to do. Appreciate y'all, Sweet Dreams Nation. Love as always, and tap in.